Good afternoon. My name is Shania Johnson. This is my statistics final project. I will be conducting a 1 proportion z-test. The question was, do you feel capable of driving after drinking any amount of alcohol? According to the American Addiction Center, 53.5% of people feel capable of driving after drinking any amount of alcohol. I chose this project because I feel that drinking while under the influence is a serious offense, and it's also super dangerous. You'd be surprised that every day about 28 people in the United States die in drunk driving crashes. That's one person every 52 minutes. I felt it would be interesting to conduct a study and find out how many people actually feel they're capable of operating a motor vehicle after consuming any amount of alcohol. My research question was, do you feel capable of driving after drinking any amount of alcohol? The data I've gathered represents the percentage of American drivers who feel capable of driving after drinking any amount of alcohol. My alpha is 0.05 simply because it's standard. To gather my data, I created a poll survey on Instagram and distributed it online through my social media. I posted the poll survey to my story on Instagram and then recorded all of the replies. I then asked people to share my Instagram story so people could see my post and then give their answers. My population would be all American drivers. The sample is the 52 people who submitted an answer for my poll survey. In order to avoid bias, I worded the question neutrally. I also made sure the survey was anonymous. I did not give my position on it, nor did I give my opinion. I included all genders, ages, ethnicities, and races. I also included only people living in America on this survey. I posted it to my story in the morning and recorded all of my replies throughout the day so I could be getting different people to answer the poll survey. The question was, do you feel capable of driving after drinking any amount of alcohol? Here's my data. 27 people said yes, 25 people said no, and that's a total of 52. For my graph, I decided to do a pie chart. On this graph, it shows that in the blue, 52% of people said yes, and in the red, it says 48% of people said no. The majority of those sampled said yes, which is the 52%, 27 out of 52. The percent of those sampled that said no is the 48%, and that's the 25 out of 52. Then I conducted the hypothesis test. For my HO, the proportion of American drivers that feel capable of driving after drinking any amount of alcohol is equal to 53.5%. For my HA, the proportion of American drivers that feel capable of driving after drinking any amount of alcohol is less than 53.5%. Here's my citation from the American Addiction Centers. Then I had to check my conditions. Condition 1 states that it has to be random and independent. All of my data was collected randomly. Condition 2 states that it has to be a large enough sample size. The population has to be greater than 10 times the sample size. I did all American drivers 10 times 52, which was my N. All American drivers is greater than the 520 that I got from doing 10 times 52. So that condition passes. Condition number 3, it has to be a big population. N times P has to be greater than or equal to 10. My N was 52 times my P, which was 0.535, and I got 27.82, which is greater than or equal to 10. And then I had to do N times 1 minus P greater than or equal to 10. 52, which is my N, times 1 minus 0.535 is 24.18. And that is also greater than or equal to 10. So that means all of my conditions are met, and all of my conditions do pass. Here's my calculations and where I showed all the work. P equals 0.535. My P hat was the 27 divided by 52, which gave you 0.52. My N was also 52. Here's my SE. For my SE, I did square root of P times 1 minus P all over N. So my P was 0.535 times 1 minus the P, which was 0.535 all over N, which was 52. And then I got 0.0692. For my Z score, I did P hat minus P divided by the standard error. For my P hat, it was 0.52 minus my P, which was 0.535, divided by my standard error, which was 0.0692, and I got a Z score of negative 0.23 with a P value of 0.4098. Here's my work. You can see where I checked everything in the calculator. I conducted a 1 proportion z-test. Here's the verification from the calculator. Here's the graph. Here's my z-score. It matches, which is negative 0.23. My p also matches, which is 0.4098. I conducted the test. My test statistic came out to be negative 0.23 for the z-score, and for my p value, I ended up getting 0.4098. I also included a graph for my hypothesis testing, and I also included an explanation. Here's my graph. You can see where my z was negative 0.23 and my p was 0.4098. Since the p-value is 0.4098 and that is not less than the alpha, which was 0.05, the conclusion is do not reject Ho. I do not reject Ho. There is not statistically significant evidence to reject Ho. The p-value was 0.4098. I conclude the proportion of American drivers that feel they're capable of driving after drinking any amount of alcohol is not less than 53.5%. I was wrong. Then I also completed a 95% confidence interval, and I showed my work and I explained the results. So in order to conduct a 95% confidence interval, here's the formula that I had to use. P hat plus or minus Z star times the SE. Which my P hat was 0.52 plus or minus my Z star, which was 1.96, since we're doing a confidence interval of 95, times my original SE, which was 0.0692. First, I did the subtraction, which is 0.52 minus 1.96 times 0.692, and I ended up getting 0.3844. Then I did the addition, which is 0.52 plus 1.96 times my SE, which was 0.6556. In the end, for my confidence interval, I ended up getting 38.44 and 65.56%. Here's my work to show my verification in the calculator. There's the verification, there's the work. Everything matches. For my conclusion, I am 95% confident that the proportion of American drivers that feel they're capable of driving after drinking any amount of alcohol is between 38.44% and 65.56%. Also, here's what I learned from this project. I was able to learn a lot. I originally believed the percentage of American drivers who feel they're capable of driving after drinking any amount of alcohol would be less than the reported amount, considering how dangerous drinking while driving could be. I did not know before doing this project what the percentage was. This project gave me the opportunity to research this question and see what others' thoughts are on this topic. I know that alcohol sedating effects impair a driver's decision-making skills and their coordination. An impaired driver also lacks the ability to quickly and decisively avoid an accident or even perform routine driving maneuvers. I found that the claim was accurate. I ended up being wrong. It was definitely interesting to get people's answers, and it shows that we have to continue to make people aware of the effects of impaired driving so that we can avoid these unfortunate events on the road. Thank you.